Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It's September 14th. My name is Amal. I'm going to do your morning Bitcoin and altcoin and DeFi analysis. Lots to talk about, right? It seems like, for the most part, the weekend was relatively calm until just about yesterday when the futures opened. And again, for those of you who are not aware, futures typically open around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. So they open, pretty much good 12, 14 hours before the Monday markets open. And this is where you kind of get to see Bitcoin trying to play catch up with what could potentially be happening in the stock market. Because Bitcoin is an asset that is still very much correlated to the stock market. So it actually helps us understand when we look at the futures, like the S&P 500, E-mini futures right here, or the NASDAQ futures. These help us gauge exactly what the market could be going through and how we can react to it on the Bitcoin front. And I think at present moment, what I'm looking at the market from the standpoint of is I still see a large range playing out. Okay, this is really the large range that's developed. And so far we had this previous weekly open right there. Okay, and that's not too bad because we held that pretty much for most of the day, even going into Sunday. And now it looks like we're rebounding here. Okay, I can delete this triangle. So it looks like we're rebounding, and not only that, we're kind of rebounding with increasing volume, and this is exactly what you want to see, right? So at the bottom you see somewhat increasing volume right here, and then you see candle spreads going up and getting slightly bigger and bigger. This is a bullish sign, at least temporarily bullish within the context of this range, within the context of this range. So I'm looking for breakout areas to target this X right here, which is around 10,650, maybe 10,700, and way the heck up here around 10,825 and some change. Okay. Beyond that, it's very hard to determine because what we have there is some pivots, right? We have the R1 right there. We have the previous weekly pivot, right all around 10,700, if you will. And I think if we can get past that, then I'm aiming for this R2 pivot, which is around 11,000. Okay. And the good thing about this 11,000 is I would want price to get up here because here's a couple ways to look at it, right? We can look at the price action from this standpoint. I'm going to throw on this Bitcoin Bitstamp chart right here. Okay. And I've told you all that the one thing that I'm paying attention to is this 50 and 128 moving average dynamic, right? Every time we've found support right here on the 128 moving average over the past year and a half, as you can see right there, we kind of come up to the upside. And if we start retesting that 50 moving average as resistance, well, then we start getting a bigger sell-off, as you can see, right? Same thing right here, right? We come back, sell off for a little while, find support at the 128 moving average, hit that 50 as resistance, and then boom, sell off. So I think at present moment, I'm kind of looking at that same area in the same fashion, which is, if we go back over here, the R1 above to the R2, well, that's right around where that 50 moving average is. And it's a pretty big, support and resistance level, which is just a psychological 11,000 number. So I would be looking at that area as potential resistance and a potential rejection. The correlation to the stock market, I think it becomes pretty clear when we start moving up towards that area, because it's possible that, maybe if we pay attention to how the stock market opens today, or even if it comes towards this trend line, right? If we start seeing price come to this trend line and start getting rejected again, well, this could be your shorting opportunity on the Bitcoin and crypto side, right? Because what that's effectively telling us is, okay, well, the stock market is coming to an area of critical resistance, and if it cannot get through its respective resistance, I would expect Bitcoin to sell off too. Now, it's very hard to sort of look at the stock market as a standalone entity and say, just based on technicals, what it's going to do, because there's numerous factors out there that are more external, more nuanced, that we cannot just look at a chart and say the stock market will do this or that. There are other things that are impacting even the stock market, such as the DXY, which is the US dollar basket, right? There are updates from the Fed, their monetary policy changes. These are all things that we kind of pay attention to and keep an eye on. And in our community, I'm sure, as you guys very well know, we keep our Advantage members updated with everything that we're seeing in the market. We have a pretty active community right here, even in the stock market side, because we trade that market pretty heavily. And if you look over here in the live equities, we actually put out an update yesterday. Okay, we did a video update on the stock market. Make sure y'all check it out, because we talk about what we're seeing, or rather, our different paths that the stock market could take for the rest of September and possibly the rest of the year, and how that impacts Bitcoin. So very good video. Make sure y'all go check it out. But we provide information like this on a daily basis to our Advantage members. The link is below if you guys want to join our paid membership. It's $97 per month. Lots of great content in there. All right, so the way I'm looking at it is, I think Bitcoin is temporarily bullish, right? I think it's held above this pivot right here, held above this weekly open, and I think at the very least, probably going to try to get to this R1. If it can break above that, then we're talking about the R2, right? So I think for the most part, in this whole range, I do think that we're going to go up, take some liquidity to the upside, and then from there, it's kind of undecided. I honestly don't know what it's going to do. Either it's going to go up here and then probably dump down, or who knows, maybe from here we just start ripping up. More of my scenarios, the paths that I've laid out, has Bitcoin at least coming down to 94.50, whether it's straight down from here, whether it's up and then maybe coming down here, maybe ranging sideways and then coming down here. I have very few paths that are kind of telling me that from here we just have to go straight up, just because I don't know how Bitcoin would do that with my outlook on how the stock market is looking, which is, as I've said before in my previous videos, make sure y'all go watch, that I believe that there's probably another leg down to the stock market, maybe another few more days of selling, maybe another week of selling. And I think this kind of selling might continue till pretty much the end of September. So we have about 2 weeks left in the end of September. So I'm expecting, maybe another 5 to 10% drop in the stock market, which could effectively mean, a good 10 to 20% drop in Bitcoin. And so that kind of brings us to that 9,000, maybe high 8,000 level. Okay. So let's do this, right? Let's keep another thing in mind. So remember that we started a new weekly, okay? And as you guys very well know me, I like mapping out the weekly levels based on how the market opened and how is it trending, or rather trading above or below those key levels that I'm watching, right? So let's do this. So that's our marker right there, okay? So that's our weekly open marker, okay? So we're gonna write September, what was yesterday, 13th weekly open, all right? So we're gonna go back on the 4-hour chart and we're gonna check out exactly where we are, okay? So as you can see, right, price opened right here on the weekly. It traded up, okay? And so far so good. We're above the weekly open right here. Make this text smaller here. So far so good. We're above the weekly open, and that's kind of exactly how I want to see it. You want to see the price trading above the weekly open, and this to me is considered at least temporarily bullish. Whenever the price starts trading above the new weekly open, or rather the current weekly open that we're at. Okay. Let's check out the daily chart. So the daily is kind of telling me that, here, there's a couple things that the daily is telling me. So if we look on BitMEX, okay, so you can see the funding rate right now is negative 0.0261. So this means that the shorts are actually paying the longs to keep their positions open. Why is that important? Well, it's important in a few ways. As you see price come down into an area, right, after a big drop, okay, what you often see is people shorting this area. Okay, why is that important? Well, it's important because when you have a big drop and then price ranges sideways, but it doesn't continue down, you have more and more people basically shorting the bottom, right? So there are more shorts actually going into the system. So that means that shorts actually have to pay the market, or rather pay the longs, to keep their positions open. Say the price starts going up further and further. Well, what happens? Well, this is the perfect recipe for a short squeeze. Why? Because you had a lot of people shorting right here. As you drive the price up higher and higher, those shorts are pressured to close out their positions for two reasons. One, because they're paying this funding rate, right? As you can see, negative 0.0261. And on top of that, they are in losses as the price moves up. So this is exactly what happens in short squeezes, is you get people to short the bottom, and as you drive the price up, okay, this is effectively where people get trapped, people get fooled into thinking we're gonna break out, but really it's a short squeeze more than likely, and those shorts actually fuel the movement up. And ultimately, it's possible, maybe the short squeeze helps us propel much higher, or all it really does is squeezes people out and then maybe starts rolling back over after those people have gotten squeezed out. There's a number of ways we can kind of look at the market, but that is kind of what I'm seeing right now. Is I think the shorts are actually in danger right now, because I think we're possibly going to push up, especially because the funding rate is negative. And I think, shorts might get squeezed out. And I told you all before, the levels that I'm looking at, the 11,000 level is one, 10,700 is another, 10,850 is another. So keep an eye on those, okay? The weekly chart, I think the weekly definitely kind of put in this reversal-like candle, like an absorption candle. I think this is a very good sign, in my opinion, because what this kind of tells me is, bulls pretty much absorb the remainder of the selling in this candle. And from here, it's possible that, maybe we reverse back up. Now, again, this is, what the weekly is telling us after one candle. We have to see confirmation to the upside for us to, kind of figure out if we're going to move up. In many ways, it's also possible that from here, we don't necessarily move up, but maybe we start trading sideways under this key SR level. As you can see, right, this 10,550 marker, you can see it was resistance, 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 and then we kind of smashed right through it. It was supposed to be support, but it didn't hold up as support on a weekly basis. So we're now trading under that area. And so if you trade under that area and you can't get above it and hold, well, then chances are you got to find support on another weekly support level, which could be right around this 9.1 to 9.2 level, okay? Because that's the last area that we consolidated sideways before we pushed up. So keep an eye on that as a potential area, just in case we do drop, okay, the 9.1 to 9.3 level from a weekly standpoint. So the DXY, again, I personally think that the DXY is going to push up at some point during the month. But right now, this is actually a good sign that the DXY is looking to break down further. As you guys very well know, as a DXY breaks down, Bitcoin, equities, gold, they have a easier path to move up. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you just kind of slice straight up from here. It just really means that we have some temporary breathing room to go through. okay? Let me see here. Daily chart, we talked about that. Yeah, kind of, this one's just a bit uncertain right now. Not a whole lot of clarity in the daily chart, but definitely creating a base of some sort. I don't know if that's a base to kind of, hold up and push back up, or if it's just a base where sellers keep selling, but buyers keep buying, and then eventually the sellers are going to take over and then crush all these buyers. It's very hard to determine. I don't really want to guess. Um, for those of you who are aware, we do also have this indicator that we're working with, right? We call it the Shepherd indicator. It's on the website. And I'm going to start doing tutorial videos on this. So this one right here, the one with all the moving averages right here, it's an indicator that's sort of derived from the moving averages, the EMAs and the SMAs. And it helps us identify, key support and resistance levels. Okay, so these ribbons right here are multiple moving averages, and the fact that we kind of dropped through those ribbons, the red ribbons right there, we found support at this other ribbon. Okay, and from here, and we should be expecting a bounce toward this red ribbon area, which is anywhere between 10.8 and maybe 11,100. So if we get up to that area and we start getting rejected, which again is something that I talked about earlier with my general, technical analysis. Oh, if we get rejected here, then this should be a shorting opportunity, in my opinion. Okay, because that's also where this 50-day moving average is. There's multiple things that are converging in this area to hold us as resistance, which is also this neckline of this big head and shoulders pattern that you see right here. Right, this is the left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. Many things happening in this area, and personally right now we're finding support. This is personally not the area I don't think you want to short. I think you want to wait for the bounce back up, or maybe the confirmation of breaking below 10,000 flat, and then you can start targeting levels below like 9,450, 9,100, and $8,800, because these are the big support levels below us. Okay, now we have the other indicator, which we call the swing alerts indicator. That's also kind of telling us that we bottomed right around this base, and this is a Ichimoku cloud-based indicator, and we bottomed at this this moving average based on the Ichi cloud. And again, I think for the most part, what this is telling you is this is a neutral territory based on the daily time frame. Okay, on the daily, then we have this other indicator, which is called a Shepherd. What it's telling you right now is, we hit a low right here, okay? But we're also coming back into this area, which is basically seen as a moving average support and resistance. So when it's green like this on the way up, this light blue line, whenever it comes back to touch it, it will be seen as a touch into support. When price comes back, or rather this indicator comes back, the light blue, into this area from the bottom side up, that's seen as resistance. So when seen as resistance, this is a good area to potentially open up a short. And as you can see, price is kind of doing that right now, but it hasn't confirmed and rejected yet. So we haven't gotten the kind of curl that we want to see, like this, and then start rolling sideways and down, right? Once you start seeing that, that's, I think, a shorting opportunity. The way I'm kind of looking at it is I think this thing is going to sort of wrap up a little bit, maybe do a fake out and then start rolling back down. And I think that will, again, give us an opportunity to potentially, figure out what the market is trying to do up here around, 10.8, 10.9, 11,000 area. And if it rejects there, well, again, I personally think that would be a shorting opportunity, or at least an opportunity to start cutting down long exposure. And again, all that really depends on what the heck the stock market is going to do, right? We have an hour and a half till that market opens. We'll see, we'll see exactly how the market wants to react for the coming week. Because, I think the entire market has really been in a dip buying mode. And if that's the case, either the buyers are going to be really surprised this week or next week, or who knows, maybe the dip buying is still relatively active, and the dip gets bought and we just keep pushing higher and higher. So we'll see. I'm kind of in a wait and see mode. I still have all my altcoin positions because I have not gotten a good opportunity to sell them. And, while I'm kind of in my positions, I don't really want to sell them now because they're not necessarily at a loss, but they're not in a heavy profit as I was hoping, previously, maybe a good 2 weeks ago, right? So I'm looking at the market, to show me, does it have strength? Can it get past 11,000? And if so, I'm going to hold on to my altcoin positions. If it gets rejected, well, I'm going to start selling out of my altcoin positions and I'm going to start hedging, short more heavily. So if we look at Ethereum, right, Ethereum is kind of showing us that, okay, well, it bounced off this 355 level. Now it looks like it may want to move back up to 380. If that's the case, well, again, we have to get above 380 and hold. See, this was not conducive to ETH price action because all it did was go above resistance, roll sideways, and then start selling off. This is the perfect recipe for, this is basically a failed breakout, right? Because if the breakout was true, we'd hold above 380 and then we start taking higher. So let's see if Ethereum is trying to show us that, the market is a little bit more risk on, meaning more of the professionals, the traders are willing to sort of look at this market and say, all right, maybe it's time to start putting money in and start driving the market up higher. And if that's not the case, well then, then you have your answer. That means it's time to still be cautious. It's not time to open up longs. It's actually time to be a little bit more defensive with your positions. I also see a head and shoulders pattern developing right here. Okay, so this is definitely something to be careful about on Ethereum. Because ETH is one of those altcoins that oftentimes over the last several months, it's actually led Bitcoin on the way up and on the way down. So you get somewhat of a lag, if you will, when Ethereum starts moving up or down and the Bitcoin is just kind of trailing. And then of course, Bitcoin also does that too. Sometimes Bitcoin leads the market and Ethereum follows. Let's check out Link finally, and let's see here. Link is just, gosh, I don't know. Link is just not looking healthy to me. It keeps hammering right around this $13 range and just is not able to get past it. So until it gets past it, I don't see any reason why Link would be considered a dip buying opportunity. Either it needs to get past this trend line right here, this descending trend line, or it needs to possibly break down much further towards maybe $6 and then start, moving back up. Because it's already down from the highs, like it's already down 40% or 30%. But the fact is that, Bitcoin, Ethereum, even the stock market, because they sold off, because they're in, uncertain territory, well, of course, very high risk projects like Link or DeFi projects, even to some degree, or other traditional altcoins, they're not going to start showing strength right away. Because you need the other markets to start showing us that, okay, all is good. The market is going to move up. We're more risk on. We're just not getting that right now. And so there will be a time and a day that will happen, but that day is not today, unfortunately. Okay. So, I'm looking at Link, hopefully to break above 13 and some change, and then it can start targeting this descending trend line. Like if it targets that, trend line right in the next couple of days, it should be anywhere between $14.50 and $15. So keep that in mind around this area. Okay. Always try to draw trend lines, parallel channels, horizontal support and resistance levels like I do, because it helps you get an idea of if the market is trending, if there are specific levels that Link is respecting, either from a support or resistance standpoint, because this helps you really understand how strong or weak an asset is. Okay. Let's check out DOT, which is my other sort of big, favorite bet. You know, DOT is still looking okay. It does not really, I mean, it's not looking as weak as Link, I'll tell you that much. You know, I think DOT, if we kind of looked at this area, this is a pretty big SR level. Okay, you could see, you know, resistance right there. So, support, resistance, and some, oops, what the heck is going on? Resistance, and then support. So I'm kind of looking at DOT right now as a bit more bullish than Link. I think, you know, if it's going to hold the support, I definitely see DOT trading up here around $6. Okay, our community has been in DOT since $3 and some change, so we're already up, you know, obviously a good 60-70%. So our positions are still looking pretty darn good. But personally, yeah, I think DOT can definitely be a, you know, more of a double-digit coin in the coming months if all goes well, you know, with Bitcoin, with the stock market, etc. Okay, I think all things kind of relate back to the stock market's health, you know, the health of the DXY, and then of course Bitcoin. All right, well guys, I think that's pretty much it. I covered a lot. You know, I covered funding rates. I covered our indicator. Again, it's on our website. If you want to check it out, there's a Discord link below. If you want to join our Discord channel, if you want to join the paid side of the community where you get access to all these locked channels, we have a ton of traders from all over the world who are constantly talking about, you know, whether it's DeFi projects, whether it's the traditional altcoins, as you can see right here. And then, of course, you know, the Bitcoin chat as well. We have a ton of discussions going on at all times. So if y'all are interested in joining us, the link is below. That's it. Cheers.